Satan fall from heaven like a flash of lightning. See, I have given you authority to tread on snakes and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing will hurt you. Nevertheless, do not rejoice at this, that the spirits submit to you, but rejoice that your names are written in heaven. This is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
You may be seated. Well, again, my name is Pastor Ray Ranker. I get to serve as the Lutheran campus pastor at the University of Maryland. I want to say thank you on behalf of our campus ministries for a couple of things. One is for the wonderful retreat center, and for Paul, who puts up and figuring out how we're going to do this, and with my delayed paperwork. But we come down every year, and this is just a wonderful place for us to get some rest, to get some time to study, and grow deeper in faith. So thank you on behalf of our campus ministries. The students all left. Actually, it's the one time a year that they actually would go to an 8 a.m. service. They got to get back, and it's good to get some time to do some work. But I also want to thank you. As you probably know, we're a part of a group of churches called a synod. And this synod together does things that we couldn't do on our own. So a portion of your offerings go to the synod to do things like prison ministry, camp ministry, and campus ministry. And so we are especially grateful that you and the churches of this area help make that campus ministry possible. As you know, you pass around that offering plate with students, it ain't going to get very far. But together we can do this great ministry, so thank you so much. One of the themes of our weekend was climate change and eco-justice, creation care. And that fits that I've been invited here in your series, Climate in the Pulpit. And I remember in seminary, I think it was my first year in seminary, it was Earth Day. And one of the well-known professors, maybe the most respected professor at the seminary, was invited to give the sermon. And he gets up there, and he starts off, it doesn't really matter anyway. And we all said, who asked this guy to preach today? What kind of message is that on Earth Day? Come on. Well, and he had everybody's attention, of course, after that. And he shared that, it doesn't really matter in terms of our salvation. What we do does not impact our salvation. Through baptism, God has claimed us, and there's no way that we can get disowned by God, no matter what we do or what we don't do. And I think on this St. Michael and All Angels Sunday, that's a good reminder. Every once in a while in Scripture, we get kind of the curtain pulled back, and we get to see a little bit of what God is up to in the cosmic realm. And we heard in our readings today about that evil exists, and that God, through Jesus and with the angels, has already defeated Satan and evil. And that will not ever have a hold over our lives through eternity. That salvation has been won not by anything we have done, by what Jesus has done. And so thanks be to God that is the case. It's not dependent on me, and that's where we need to start. It's an amazing gift, that unconditional love, that grace that God gives us. Another gift that God has given us is our brains. And when I was talking with one of my friends, he said to me, Ray, think about it like this. If you went to 100 doctors, and 99 told you that you need to exercise more or you're going to die, and one of the doctors said, you're going to be okay, don't worry about it, what would you do? Or better yet, he said, what if you went to the doctors for your kids? You went to 100 doctors for your kids, and I have a 4 and a 2-year-old. And if they said, and 99 said, if you didn't do this, your kids are going to die. But one of them was like, "Yeah, it'll probably be okay. Don't worry about it." What would you do? And he said, that's what it's like with the science on climate change. The overwhelming 95% plus percent of scientists, this is a problem and it's human driven. Now, the worst case scenario, let's say that one person was right. That one doctor was like, nah, you don't need to exercise. Exercise is okay. Worst case scenario, I've spent a little bit more on a gym membership. I feel better and have spent time, working out that maybe wasn't necessary to add some years to my life. What happens if that one doctor is wrong? What happens if the 99 were right and I had done nothing? What happens for my kids if those 99 were right and I had done nothing? My friend also said to me, now think about this. In this country, it's Christians that are primarily the biggest obstacle towards making the changes we need to make for our climate. Christians are the primary obstacle to making those systemic changes that we need to do, that scientists are telling us that we need to do. What kind of witness is that? What kind of witness does that share? Christians of all people, we know the earth and all that is in it is a gift from God. And we have been given this gift and called to be good stewards. And yet, we are the primary obstacle in this country. At this retreat, as we thought about what it means to love our neighbors through our care for creation, one of the things that we always notice, before any of the students have ever come to worship here or talked to anybody here, they notice the solar panels and the rain barrels that you have. Now, this is just great because they, without having heard it from your mouths, they can see that you are putting that love for neighbor and love for creation into action. What a witness for somebody who just walks by and never walks in to see that that is where your values lie. And you inspire us. And so as we were talking in the different campuses about what do we feel called to do, how do we feel called to truly love our neighbors, and what does that look like as we care for creation? At the University of Maryland, some of our students had adopted the stream out on the edge of campus there. That was probably about 4 years ago, and that involved committing to cleaning it up 4 times a year. So at first they started arranging that 4 times a year. It was mainly cleaning out the junk that, of course, other students had thrown in there, single-use plastics being the majority. And eventually they said, well, you know what else? We can see that some of the plants are being choked by these invasive species, so then the next year they also involved invasive species removal. And then they said, well, it's good, we're doing something here for this creek here 4 times a year, but there's a systemic issue. And so they started being in touch with their local city council members about proposed developments or changes and how that would affect the stream. Started being in touch with state and national representatives about creation care. There's a silly analogy, a silly metaphor about this, and it'd be as if you went to the river with your friends to relax and hang out, and you're there, and you see a baby floating down the river. Now, your first reaction would probably be, oh my gosh, let me put down everything and go get that baby. And so you did that, and you brought the baby in, and all of a sudden there was another baby floating, and so somebody else there with you jumps out, goes and rescues that second baby. But then you see more coming. And so you're working really hard through the night, and one of you says, this is going to be too much for just me to do, just us to do. I'm going to go back and organize some folks. We're going to get some churches together. I'm going to talk to the Boy Scouts, whatever, and we're going to make sure we can help these babies coming down the river. But then one day somebody says, why are there babies in the river in the first place? Let's walk upstream and see what's going on. And so they walk upstream and they see, well, there's a factory putting babies in the water. How dare they? And so what do? They start advocating for change. First with the company, maybe. Maybe then some boycotts, some protests. Maybe then some advocacy, trying to change the systems. Maybe there's laws that can be changed to make it illegal to put babies in the water. And that's really what we're talking about, how to both do the individual aspects of what it takes to care for creation, but then to collectively do the things that we are called to do, that we can only do together. You know, as my former professor said, you know, it doesn't really matter anyway. For salvation, our individual salvation, even our collective salvation in heaven, it doesn't matter. But I think it matters in two important ways. One is that, you know, one of my favorite hymns in the hymnal, it's in Spanish and in English. And if I can paraphrase it a little bit, it's, the angels were not sent into this world of pain to fix our mess. It's not God's job to just come in and right every wrong, everything that we've messed up, and fix it. God has called us to love our neighbors. God has called us to be good stewards, and we can't just rely on the angels to come and fix our mess. Likewise, I think it would be wrong to just say, you know what, technology is going to advance to the point where it's going to be able to fix all our messes, so we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to do anything about it now. You know, the other area where I think it really does matter, especially with creation care, is the way it communicates and shares the gospel, the good news, that we are loved, and thanks to that love, we want to love our neighbors. God first loved us, and we want to share that love by caring for creation, by ensuring that future generations and ourselves have a place to live that is healthy. You know, we're going to mess up. We're not always going to get it right. I think it's funny, as we gather as the students, we often have a confession. And one of the things we talk about is, how great is it that we get to come together on a Sunday morning and talk about how we mess up and we're not perfect. We're screwed up and we need God. But it's true. We will mess up. We do mess up. And we have a God that has claimed us through baptism and won't let us go. We have a God that sends unconditional love and that grace that is not deserving, that we haven't done to earn. We have a God that loves us no matter what. And so the question that I want to leave you all with is the same question that was asked by this professor. Now that you don't have to do anything for your salvation, God has already done it. Now that you don't have to do anything, what are you going to do? And how are you going to share that love?